Hi, guys. Welcome back to Coffee Klatch Podcast. It's Anya,
And Jen.
and we're coming to you live, as Jennifer would say.
From the depths of Miss Corona's quarantine.
Yeah. So today we have a special guest, Miss Jillian Shinsky.
Hello, everyone.
And
Jill
yeah, go ahead.
is the best person ever. I love her so much. We love her so much. She's an icon. And she's just everything that I ever want to be. Jill is amazing. We love her. She's going to do such amazing things.
I'm trying to match up to y'all's energy. Like, what are you? I don't even know what you're talking about.
You're perfect, Jill. You're perfect.
So she's going to help us discuss platonic relationships, aka friendships, today. So
yeah, we wanted to show you guys that we have range, okay? We're not always talking about, being submissive words. Sometimes we talk about other things,
Yeah, we have that duality, okay?
Oh, yes, versatility. These other people can't relate. You can't relate.
There's more that meets the eye.
Yeah.
Yes. Don't judge a book by its cover. Okay, sorry. Yes. So shall we begin with the first question, ladies?
Yes.
Okay. Want me to ask it?
Sure.
Okay. So our first question has to do about priorities, putting your friends before family, school, other things. So for you guys, what priority does friendship take? And does it matter like how close you are to that friend for, them to have a higher or lower priority?
I definitely think it matters how close you are to a friend and how much you put like your priority with them. Because like if it's just an acquaintance, I'm less likely to put them before something else, which kind of sounds bad, but I don't know. Like if you have a best friend, like, at that point you're just willing to do anything for them. And it's just different.
No, I feel that makes perfect sense. Because if they're an acquaintance, like, I'm sorry, but you're an acquaintance.
Yeah.
No,
there's only so much. Huh?
I said I think that makes a lot of sense just because like you want to like keep the bonds that you have, especially with your family, really strong, and you don't want to like try. I don't know, like make them feel like they're less important than like some random person who you like barely know or like you're kind of just friends with in school or something like that.
Exactly. If we don't talk out of school, I'm less likely to really put you above like my family or school or something.
Oh yeah, can we talk about that for a second? Like friendships that are only like in school or only situational friendships?
They're definitely important, but like, they're temporary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine with them being temporary, but I always find that sometimes like I feel bad if after that temporary situation, like in terms of like, oh, we met at an event or we met somewhere, at a party or something. But, we're just friends for that one event. And then I kind of feel obligated to continue that friendship outside, even if I don't think we click very well. Like I feel like I owe it to them. Do you guys ever feel like that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you like see them, you're not going to like pretend they don't exist.
Oh, yeah, that's always awkward.
Yeah.
I hate that.
It can definitely sometimes be awkward, especially if you don't know how well they reciprocate your feelings. Like you could have clicked really well in like a certain environment, but then like I don't know, like you said, like at a party or something. But then when you're in school, it could be completely different. So
Definitely.
Wait, did we answer this part? Like the priority friendships take in your lives? Do y'all answer that?
I think we answered part of it.
So many tangents.
Sorry. No, sorry. We don't have to answer if you guys don't want. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say,
like,
kind of similar to what Jill was saying, but like I tend to prioritize family over friendships, just because that's kind of like I guess how I was raised. Like if there's like a family function going on over the weekend, and then like also like I could hang out with my friends, I'd always go to the family function. But it's like as I get older, it might be a little harder because I don't want to like miss out on like certain things or like experiences.
I feel like I have a similar but a bit different experience. I feel like I tend to prioritize myself and my goals first, if that makes any sense. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that it took me a really long time, like up until I would say about maybe like late middle school or even just like high school to really form like one or two friendships that I'm really, really close and committed to and feel like, yes, like this person is my best friend. Mm-hmm. And even in that case, like sometimes I would prioritize like myself and my ambitions first. And I think it's because having so many temporary friendships before, it made me like it made me more hesitant to view the current friendship that I'm really close to as like, you know, it's actually legit, like it's going to last, you know, trying to get out of that mindset that, oh, this is just another temporary thing that I'd gotten accustomed to in like elementary school and like some of middle school. Does that make sense? Did I explain that even decently well?
No, that definitely does. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like I'm at the stage right now where I'm like learning to put my friendships, like to not be so focused on like the goals and the future and to actually live more so in the moment and to put my friendships at a higher priority. Because I think friendships are like one of the best like relationships we have. And I don't think our society puts emphasis on them enough, at least not in Western society.
That's a really good point. I haven't thought of it that way, but like, I think you're right.
Because even talking to my mom, like she's always like, oh, why don't you talk to this person anymore? Like you were friends for blah, 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 blah years. And I'm just like, well, that was elementary school. That was middle school. People grow apart. But it's hard to comprehend. It's hard to comprehend that like friendships change or that you're not friends with people anymore. And for me, I just see it as, oh, it's just like temporary. Like it's whatever. But she's like, no, that was your friend. Why are you not talking anymore? So I think it's also like cultural. Because I think back home, they value friendships a lot more. Like when you're friends with someone, that's for life.
Yeah.
Essentially.
That's interesting. For me, I think I like did a flip-flop basically where like I know like growing up in middle school and like even kind of the beginning of high school, I didn't really have that good of a relationship with my family at that point. You know, I was in like that rebellious like preteen phase where like you hate your mom for no reason at all. And so I tended to put my friendships like above my family and other things. Like I would prioritize them because that's where I could find like some sort of like acceptance, you know, and comfort. And then when I'm like around like sophomore year and junior year, I backtracked and then I started to put myself above friendships. And then I got closer with my family. And then now it's like more of a healthy balance because I only have like a few friends that I can prioritize without feeling like I'm letting my family down or like separating from them.
I love that for you.
Yeah, that's really nice growth and progression. I love that for you.
I love that. Okay, did you want to add something or should we move on to the next question, Aanya?
Yeah, I think that was it. Like, I kind of agree with both of you that like, I don't know if I necessarily prioritize myself over others. I think that Jennifer, you definitely tend to do that, and I think that's like a strong suit of yours because you kind of focus on yourself, where sometimes I almost do the opposite. But I think that if it comes to like academics or family, I'm definitely gonna put that over a friendship. And if it, and I also was like thinking about this, but if like a friend doesn't understand why you would want to prioritize your family first, are they really your friend, or like are you really that close with them?
Yeah. Okay, I feel like, not to bring you back to this question again, because I didn't answer the family aspect of it, but I feel like I kind of did a flip-flop of what Gill experienced with prioritizing like people over your family or vice versa. I feel like me right now, I tend to I'm starting to not put my family as high of a priority, if that makes sense. And I think a lot of it has to do with just like the changing relationship between me, like, and my mom, and then my extended family. They're all the way back in Africa, so like, yes, I prioritize them, but it's not like I have obligations to see them like every week or something. You know what I mean? Because they're not here. Like I'm not hopping on a plane every week. Yeah. So our relationship is like mostly over phone and whatnot, which is easy to manage. And takes less effort to manage. Actually, it does take more effort because you don't see them. But yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
Should we do the next question now? Do you want to introduce it, or does Jill want to introduce a question?
Oh, I like this one.
Okay.
Anya, do you want to do it? Or
No, you can go ahead.
Okay. So how do romantic relationships impact friendships, and what do you or what should you prioritize?
Personally, I haven't had a lot of experience with like romantic relationships ruining or like affecting my friendship because not a lot of my friends have like been in the dating scene. But from just the perspective of like the excitement of it, I think that if there's a good balance, it can actually be beneficial for a friendship. Like, I know that me and Jennifer talk a lot about like our own endeavors, and it definitely has like made our friendship become stronger.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat with Anya. Like, I haven't, like, none of my friends, whether like they're the temporary ones from before, or like the ones that I really call friends now, have ever really dated anyone else besides like somewhat recently. A friend of mine like started dating this dude, but like, you know, I don't think it impacted the friendship in any way. You know, I think the friendship is still going in its natural progression. So I don't think, you know, it didn't really make an impact. But I do agree that because I feel like Western society doesn't prioritize platonic relationships as much as other kinds of relationships, at least with women, because we're always being pushed like, oh, like it's competition to get a man out here. And I'm like, I'm good. But because they don't prioritize platonic relationships so much, I feel like sometimes it's easy for people to slip into like, oh, like I'm just going to spend all my time with my boyfriend. And like, oh, like now that I'm dating someone, like that'll be my priority, and I'll just come to my friend when I need to rant about this person or like when they break up, which I think is really bad and you shouldn't do, because like, think of it, who's there? Who was not even like who was there first, but like stick to your roots, you know your roots.
But just like who's going to be there when times get rough? You know, like, yeah, you love your boyfriend when like things are great, but then when they aren't, then it kind of like falls apart, and then who you're going to talk to. For me, I feel like I'm going to have a bias on this just because I had a bad experience back in like my 8th grade or freshman year. I had this one friend who not like, it wasn't the fact that she was in a relationship, it was that she would go through like different ones all the time and be like on a monthly basis. And while I'm totally supportive of like dating, it was that like every single one was like, oh, this is the one, you know? And so she'd like drop everything, drop everyone, and only put it to them. And then like a month would go by, and then like, never mind, they broke up, you know? And then we'd be friends again, and then we'd hang out and things are great. And then she'd find somebody else. And it was like this like month cycle.
That's horrible.
That's just not healthy,
like emotionally,
you know?
like that could definitely emotionally affect somebody. And I think that especially when you're that young, you don't really know, like your friend obviously didn't know how to handle relationships, and you are not supposed to be the person that is supposed to like tell her what to do, because that's not fair. Like that's not a fair burden on you. So I can definitely understand why you would have that bad experience.
Yeah. But like at the same time now, like I have friends in relationships, and you know, like you're happy for them and you want them to be happy. So it's easier to be supportive, but it has to be like they are happy, you know, like you have to, it has to make sense on some level. Like it's like a team effort, I guess.
Yeah. And I think that's the good thing about like having a really good person that you're friends with, so that they can like be honest with you and tell you that like, I'm glad that you're like in this relationship right now, but I need you to be honest with yourself, you know?
Yeah. And also just like, you need to bring up that conversation. Like if you think your friend isn't giving you the time that you deserve, or like they're starting to ignore you, then you should be the one to bring it up, because they might not even notice it, you know?
Yeah.
Like they may be so caught up.
And I think also like as a friend, you should like, to kind of add on to this question, but I think as a friend, and if you're friends in a relationship, I feel like it's also do you guys think it's an obligation for you as a friend to tell your other friend if they're engaging in like unhealthy behavior relationship wise? Like if they always seek out a certain type of person that you know isn't good for them, like you think it's your priority, and how long do you keep going at it trying to get them to see until like it's kind of like, okay, it is what it is?
I it depends how close you are with that person. Like with how I don't know, aggressive you can be about it. But I don't know. I definitely think you should tell them, or you should be on them, because like you don't want them to be hurt, you know?
Yeah, I think similar to what you were saying, it definitely depends on how good of a friend you are to them. And I think that at first, especially if they're like in an absolutely toxic relationship, or like just in general, they're like going about something in a way that's going to harm them, I think that it is the responsibility of a good friend to tell them, or at least like try and like help them through the situation. But after a point, if it's just, like somebody who you're like, oh, they deserve better, or like, something like that, I think that at the end of the day, it's that person's decision to, settle or not.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I feel like it's such a tough position to be in. And I'm going to like assume that, well, I'm going to take the stance that like the person I'll be telling is like someone who I'm close to.
Yeah. Because
So
if
from that perspective,
a little bit like, I don't know what the word is, like a little nosy, but if it's on your close to you, then I think you have the right to say something.
Definitely. Or at least you should be, sorry.
No, go ahead.
You definitely should be outspoken about your like disapproval. I guess, like if like they're like a shitty person, you gotta be like, you deserve better. You, like, I don't know what you're doing with this guy. So at least like when they try and like doubt their insecurity about the relationship, they know that you don't approve of it.
Yeah.
Because eventually they'll probably come to the realization by themselves. Like they're going to need to be the one to decide, but it's not going to help if you don't say anything, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense.
Being complacent in a situation.
Yeah. Because the reason why I even thought of it really was because like the podcast that I listen to, the Woman Fest podcast, this is not sponsored by them, but listen to them. They were like doing a bunch of people sending a bunch of questions about friendships and whatnot. And there are a lot of questions like, okay, yeah, my friend keeps dating these same type of shitty people or making these same mistakes, like a cycle. And I always tell her every time, like, listen, this is not good for you. And like, you've done this a million times already. Like, at what point do you just kind of take a step back and just let it be what it is? Even if like you really still want to be friends with that person.
I think that if it's like, affecting your relationship with them in a negative way, I think that's probably the point where you want to take a step back and be like, is it really worth it for my mental health or, our relationship to be ruined over this one person?
I think that goes back to like, like putting friends above family, but also yourself. And like at some point you do need to put yourself before friendships as you would a relationship. And if their choices are hurting you, I mean, like say like you have a friend who keeps on getting into those toxic relationships, I would say that's the same as like a friend who does like a lot of like hardcore drugs, and you're worried for their health and it's taking a toll on you. Then at that point, you just need to accept that they'll learn it by themselves, hopefully. But for your own sake, you need to take a step back.
And this brings us right into our next topic, which is about friendship breakups. And like, if you've ever, obviously everyone's been through them, but like how you really deal with them and like your personal experiences. So you guys can like talk about that first.
To kind of connect it to what we were talking about before. Yeah, I feel like I don't know if I would necessarily break the friendship off at that point, depending on how bad things are. Like if it's really, really negatively affecting me, my mental health, or my safety, then like I would either take a big ass step back or just call it a day. Wait, what?
What?
Did y'all hear that?
Yeah.
That was my computer. It tells me the time. Sorry.
Oh my God. I thought it said it's raw. And I'm like,
It said it's 4:00. People get scared by that so much when I'm on like FaceTime. Sorry.
I was like, what's raw? What's raw? Okay. Yeah, so I would either take a big ass step back or just like, end the friendship at that point. But to answer this question, yeah, I think this goes back into how I used to think and how I'm trying to come out of the thinking that friendships and stuff like that are temporary. So I feel like I'm kind of quick to break things off, whether it's, academic endeavor or whether it's like a friendship or romantic relationship or whatever. Like, I am not afraid to kind of end things. But the thing with me is yes, I'm quick to end things, but it comes after a long while of me like debating it and me seeing multiple signs that this is not it.
Yeah.
Because I trust my intuition a lot, and I feel like I'm really connected to it. But also, like, I go by what people actually do, not what they always say. And like for me, this year was really a time of me breaking off like relationships and really starting to examine which relationships I want in the future. Yeah. And then investing my times into the ones that bring me joy, and the ones that I actually like see becoming, lasting into the future. Mm-hmm. So I'm fine with like breaking up friendships. Like, I don't think, it's anything inherently bad. I think we all need to do that at some point. Like, I'm not of the school of thought that, like, we've been friends for this long, we need to stay friends. You know what I mean? And even if we still really connect, like, if it's not a good friendship, I'm breaking it off.
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, that's a really good point. And I think part of it is, like, your friendships are almost a reflection of you at that time. And so, and you're constantly changing, especially at these years. And so it's a lot harder to keep friendships because, like, your friends are like your fun people, or like your fun time, the people who you relate to and think that you're also like, or that's just my philosophy. Mm-hmm. And so as you change as a person and you find out what your different priorities are and what your goals in life are, mm-hmm. you're going to start, you're not going to like them as much when you're changing if they're not changing with you at the same speed. Mm-hmm. And so I don't see cutting off friendships as a bad thing. I don't know. I just see friendships, at least right now, temporary. And that might just be because of my situation of like always moving. So like I always see friendships as temporary because honestly, like once you move, you learn how much like how friendships are built on convenience, basically. Like the more you see them, the closer you're going to be. But the moment you stop seeing them as much, it's so much harder to be friends.
Yeah, even with this quarantine.
Yeah, like you can see that with the quarantine when you don't see each other at school, or like it's harder to talk. Like when you actually have to put effort into talking, it really opens your eyes.
How about you, Aanya? How do you feel about friendship breakups?
I think that, like you guys said, I don't see that as like a bad thing. I just think it's more of like a natural progression that everyone goes through. And like, I feel like for the most part, most of my friendship breakups have just been natural. Like there's not a lot of them have been like very nasty or like sudden because of something that happened. I can only think of like really one instance when that happened. And even now, like me and her are like fine. Like we still talk to each other if we see each other and stuff. So like for the most part, I think that, like you guys said, pretty much.
What are some things that make you consider breaking up a friendship? Because I remember when Jill was talking about like growing together or at the same pace. I agree to that to an extent because I feel like everyone is going to change and that's fine. But like Jill said, as long as you feel like your friend is growing, like not necessarily in the same direction, because we all have different passions and we're all different people. But if you're still, for me, it's all about like, I guess like your passions, because I'm really connected to things I'm passionate about. And I want my friends to be people who are also passionate about like similar things than me. And for that means like the greater good and really helping your community and just the world as a whole, and being really in tune to like things like racism, homophobia, etc. Like I don't want friends who don't like prioritize that or don't really care about that, because I can't ignore that. Like that's a reality for me and millions of people. Like I can't just put on some fucking glasses and be like, oops, I pretend I do not see it,
I think
so that's
go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just end up really quickly. Yeah, so that's been the reasons why, like, historically, my friendship have changed, especially in middle school. Because in elementary school, I was a kid that was just kind of like friends with everyone. I didn't have like I had like two really close guy friends up until like middle school, but then about 8th grade, like I had pretty much completely dropped every friend I was in elementary school, and it was natural. It wasn't like nasty or anything, but we just kind of grew apart because that was the point where I started to realize that I care about global citizenry and I want to be a person who is an activist and fights for these things, but my friends were just not at that stage. And I don't think they necessarily are. Even right now, all my old friends, they weren't at that stage. And I don't think because of their lives and identities, like they don't really have to care about those things if they don't want to. So I was just like, yeah, that's not really the direction that I'm going for. So the friendships just withered. Because, like, what can you talk about? Like, I'm here talking about, like, Trayvon Martin being shot, and then they're just like, okay, I like this video game. All right. Like, that's cool, but duality.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think that, like, of course, everybody makes mistakes and, like, changes and grows and learns. But if it's, like, a repeated thing, or, like, if this person just is not interested or passionate about the same things I am, I don't think that it's going to be a very close friendship. So may as well just, like, not invest my time in it. I don't know if that sounds pessimistic, but, like...
No, it's true.
Yeah, and I think that, like, what Jennifer was saying about people being, like, socially aware, I don't think I could ever be friends with someone who, like, pretends to not see, or, like, is just like, oh, I don't see color, or, like, so woke. Because there's so many people who are so woke, but, like, what are you actually doing?
Ooh, let me just add them real quick. We'll have to let you in after this episode, Jill.
Oh my god. Did you just call out half of Simsbury High School? Or
literally. It actually made that 3/4 of Simsbury High School.
They're all about equality until the blackface happened. And then and then no, you shouldn't be penalized. Oops. Sorry.
You didn't know any better.
Yeah.
All right. At your big age. All right.
You're 15 years old. Like, you're gonna get a permit soon. Like,
oh yeah, sorry. Did I cut you off? Whoever was speaking before, sorry.
No, that's basically all I had to say anyway.
Yeah.
And
I feel like...
Oh.
No, go ahead.
For me, cutting off friendships, like, when I start to, like, I guess, like, when you feel, like, with your intuition, is when I get, like, insecure if they are kind of like, they don't like me as much as I like them. I don't know if that makes sense, but on, like, a friend way, I start to feel insecure and I, like, downplay myself, I guess, or I'm, like, starting, like, I can't be myself as much, or else, like, they won't like it. And then at that point, I'm like, is this friendship worth my time, if that makes sense?
Oh, that's a really good point. Yeah.
That is a really good
I relate to that in the sense, for me, I relate to it in that it's something that stops me or makes it hard for me to feel close to people. That insecurity, like, oh, like, do I like them more than I like me? Am I putting in more effort? Because historically, I've been the one who's been putting in most effort until, like, the past couple of years when I've actually found people who reciprocate that energy. But I think for me, another big indicator of, when it's really time to let go of a relationship is, like, I know we'll get into it later, but also looking at who that friend also associates with.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it too. And I think Jennifer definitely knows this about me, but sometimes I put in a lot more energy than I'm necessarily getting back.
Yes. Aanya out here, emotional labor.
I'm just Bob the Builder. That's what they call me. But
Handy Mandy.
Yeah, that's me. But I think that I've come, especially with the help of my, like, really good friends and the people who actually care about me, I've come to see that, like, I don't need those people in my life to, like, have fun, because they weren't even doing anything for me anyway. It was more just like a superficial type of relationship.
Yeah.
So, and plus, most of the time where I've, like, drifted away from people, I feel like it's been a lot more natural than it has been, like a formal breakup where I'm just like, sorry, I just don't want to talk to you anymore. It's more just been like, we just don't talk.
Yeah. And I think part of that is, like, your own choice to stop kind of talking. Yeah. And then you, like, see that they don't reach out to you unless you do it. And so it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like, that's been a really good situation a lot. Like, where you know, like I start to feel like less confident on reaching out to them because it's like, oh, I don't know how they'll react, or like, do they still like me? And then you kind of stop, and then they just stop altogether, and then
And
you just drift apart.
And I think that, like, as you drift apart, you also kind of see what you had been missing before, where you kind of start to see why you weren't really compatible in the first place. Makes
Yes,
any sense.
that's
Mhm.
true.
Yeah, I think communication, or like the change in communication or lack thereof, is also a really another big indicator, especially like in the last friendship that I broke off. Like Anya was saying, it wasn't necessarily something where it was like, okay, yeah, it did get a little bit not confrontational necessarily, because I'm not a confrontational person, kind of. Sometimes I am confrontational,
I
but
think I
generally
think
I
you
am
avoid it
not.
until the point where you can't anymore.
Okay, yeah, that's my thing. Like, because the thing had been building up for months and months, and then at the end, I was like, you know what, fuck it. Like, I just stopped reaching out completely. I'm like, I'm not doing this. Like, if you're not, like, I'm giving you the chance. And I did express how I felt about the situation. I said, okay, I'm giving you a chance, but if you actually want to save this friendship, or if you want to just have one last conversation before we part ways, if that's what we choose, I reached out and I proposed that. But then, like, they said, yeah, they would, but then their actions said completely otherwise, and I went
Oh,
by their
I hate that.
actions.
I find that
And
really
I'm
ironic that, like, just in that situation, the issue that you were dealing with was that this person was not reaching out to you. And then
literally,
you're upset that you cut off the relationship, even though they didn't reach out to you in the very last, like,
yes.
stages of that
And
friendship. It just,
to
like,
make it
steals
even
you.
wilder,
What?
sorry, continue on, you.
No, that's what I was gonna say. I was like, it just like was very ironic to me that that's like how the relationship really ended, and I'm like, sir, do you not see?
That's literally the root of the issue. And to make it even fucking funnier, like after I distanced myself and just stopped trying with this friend, like they were still like, oh, in a hug, they're still smiling, like say hello, whatever. But I was like, just kind of really giving the cold shoulder because they knew what the issue was. Like they knew what the issue was, but they're just like, oh, if I ignore it and pretend it, like everything's fine, it'll be fine. I'm like, no, I laid out the fucking issue. I gave you fucking options. You chose your option. And this is me responding to that by just
Yeah.
not engaging anymore. And the thing is, like, the person would still continue to talk about me to other people and act like we were still friends. And people will come
Oh
up
my
and
God.
ask me, like, oh, like, how's this person doing? Or like, oh, you and this person, like, are you guys okay? You guys are so cute, like, as friends or whatever. And I'm like, I'm not friends with this person anymore. So I can't help you there.
Do you guys have any specific like needs in a friendship where you feel like if this isn't, you're not getting this particular thing, then you couldn't be friends with the person?
I kind of went into it when I talked about friendship endings and friendship breakups and whatnot. Like I said, like I need someone who is worldly, someone who's aware of like things that are going on around their community and just the world at large. That's really, really important to me. I also need someone who's passionate. Like if you have nothing you're passionate about, like I can't. Like where's the flavor? Like if you don't have something that you're interested in, like where's the fucking flavor? And I also like, this is kind of like a newer realization, but I don't think I can ever really be super close friends with someone who like just does a shit ton of drugs, because that's not the life that I live. Like I don't really care if people do drugs. For me and my personal friends, I don't see myself being close friends with someone who like smokes weed every day, or someone who like does a bunch of crazy drugs just for the hell of it. Like that's a certain amount of like impulsiveness and I guess recklessness that I just don't really want in my life, because I know that I'm someone who has an addictive personality and I don't want to feel pressure to do those things because that can turn into an addiction for me.
Yeah.
So I just don't want to be around. I'll put myself in that position where I could be, influenced to do that kind of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's good that you're like very self-aware about that. Like you don't want to like you're distancing yourself from something that could potentially take you down the wrong path.
Yeah, because I get hyperfixated on shit, and I'm like, I don't want to be hyperfixated on fucking weed or some shit. Like, no.
Yeah,
and like
I'll stick to my Netflix shows.
Even if you don't do it, like you're gonna feel left out, and then like what's the point?
Yeah. Like if they do it like in their own lives or just occasionally, like I don't care, like smoke weed or do whatever if you want, but like if you literally cannot go a day without smoking weed, or like if you're someone who does a whole bunch of like hardcore drugs, like that's just not the life for me.
Yeah.
So because of that, we wouldn't really be close friends. How about y'all?
Yeah, Jill, do you have anything specific?
I feel like it's like it's obvious, but like I need someone who I like have good communication with, and then I can have like just like any stimulating conversation. Like if I just can't hold a conversation with you, like it doesn't have to be all the time, but like if I never like, you know, like if we never get off, like if it's just like, hey, how are you? How are you?
Yeah.
You know, like I can't do that. And I think part of it, and that falls into just like, I can't have flakiness. Like I hate that. Just, I want everything to be real. I value honesty too much. That's probably all the fucking Sagittarius placements in
I was
my
just gonna
chart.
say.
But like, I just can't stand it. I don't want it. You know, like it's not for me.
Valid. How about you, Miss Aanya?
Yeah, I think that you would definitely need a person who is similar to me in at least some respect. Like obviously everybody's different, and like having differences is like beneficial, but I similar to what you were saying, Jennifer, about like being like worldly or socially aware, and then like also someone who's just like a little bit crazy, just a little bit. Like I don't want a stuck up person. Like if you're stuck up, I can't be friends with you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like work hard, but also like know how to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I found that like trying to have friendships with people who are like more so like who put their all into their academics or like professional lives, I'm like, yeah, that's cool, but it makes me feel insecure because I feel like I can't, like I have to talk a certain way, like I can't, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I can't be the versatile person that I truly am at my core. I also wanted to. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was also just gonna say, like, not only like if you are a worldly person, but like I would also want someone to hold other people accountable around them.
Yes,
like I've had friends that like are worldly, you know, they have good ideas, and then they date like some white boy who says the N-word, and you're just like, I what? Like, and like, and you're okay with this? And they're like, he's trying. He just hates gay people. Like,
yeah, like he's like, actually what? Not that bad. Like, yes, he's a white supremacist, but like,
yeah,
you know, like, his fingernails are clean. I'm like, all right, the bar is in hell.
Yeah, he's 6'2". He's a part of the Nazis, but he's tall. You know, like it's just like I don't get it. Like it just and because like I said earlier, like on some part, like you surround your people with like those who you relate to or you agree with, and even if you don't directly agree, but if you're like complacent, then
yeah, like if you, because people are like, at least for me, like I judge people by who they're also around. So if you're fine with being around people who allegedly has such polarizing views, then it makes me think that you're actually not against them having those views. Like if you can be close friends with them, like I don't understand. Like I get if it's family, because you know family is hard to cut off for some people, and that some people just like, you know, they're really close to family, and like I'm not trying to change that. But with friends, like if you say you're passionate about X, Y, and Z, but then you're around people who aren't, or you know, act opposite of that, but you're still friends with them, I'm like, so are you really passionate about X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
Like what's the truth?
Yeah.
I think on some level, like if you're an acquaintance with them just because of like situation wise, you know, like I'm not gonna like get on you like that. But if you're like best friends with them or in a relationship with them, like you have a close relationship despite their views, I'm just like a little bit questionable of your integrity, you know?
Yeah, like I don't do that whole like, oh, like we can be friends with like politics or just politics. We can be friends outside of that. I'm like, I can't.
Yeah.
Because politics literally affects our every fucking day life. Like
it's hard. It's just
like, you can't just remove yourself from it. I
hate poor people. I don't. We can still be friends. Like, how do you like?
How?
I don't get it. I have yet to figure that out. Um,
Like, oh my god, couldn't be me. I also wanted to raise the question, kind of going off of that. Are you guys people who, like, this is all under perspective, like you and your close friends? Are you guys people who like to be the person that like your friend comes to for issues? Are you someone who likes to share your issues with friends? Or like, are you someone who more so rather deals with it on their own and then like will tell their friends about it like later when it's resolved or like when it's time has passed? Or are you like, oh, I'm feeling bad, let me go straight to my friend? Like your communication style and how much you're willing to communicate certain things.
I think personally, I kind of rely on my friends, at least two specific people, on like kind of helping me get through like hard times. Which I don't know, like I shouldn't put that burden on them, but I think I do anyway. But I also help them like when they're going through tough times, just because I don't have another person to like kind of communicate with. Um, like a lot of people go to like their parents or like a really close sibling, but I don't know if I necessarily could do that for every situation. So I think having my close friends is like beneficial for me. And I also tend to give a lot of advice also, just like not even from close friends, but just like in general.
No, you're really good at advice giving. Anya's a giver.
Thanks. I am a giver.
Yeah, like I agree with what you were saying, Anya, about that like you rely on your friends now. And yeah, I was someone like who, and I kind of still am this kind of person who, because like I have such a fear of like being vulnerable and like depending on people for the fear that they will let me down. Like I just hashtag trauma. Anyways, I I tend to just kind of deal with things on my own or like kind of like just kind of keep it to myself. But lately I've been like really reaching out, especially with you, Anya. I feel like we've gotten a lot closer.
Yeah, definitely.
Lately,
we've definitely become a lot closer.
Yeah, like we've started having like conversations about like, I mean, we'd always have really intellectual conversations and as well as really fun ones. But now I feel like we're also talking about other things as well. You know what I mean? Like getting a bit deeper, which I like because I feel like I'm someone who values, who measures the intimacy of their friendship or the closeness or the strength of their friendship based off of like how freely we can talk about things, you know?
Yeah.
Like that intimacy that comes with communicating and like sharing your issues. Like I want my friends to feel like they can talk about like all sorts of things with me.
I think I feel the same way. Like I've always been pretty open to like communicating with friends and like reaching out to them. And like I don't know. I think like with me, like acquaintance wise, I'm not afraid to give advice or do anything like that. So I'll give that. For my problem though, it's like asking for like actions. Does that make sense?
Could you explain a little bit more?
So like if it's something I need someone to do or like for me to do, I'll do it myself. Like I don't really like to ask for actual favors or anything like that. Like I'll find a way to do it myself. I don't know. I think it goes with like being let down or like I'm also a control freak, so I want it to be done my way.
No, I feel you on that. Yeah, like now that I think I'm like, yeah, I don't really wait, Anya, do I ask for like physical action things? I'm trying to think. So I never genuinely never thought about it before.
I don't really think. I don't know. If you have, I hadn't like thought about it as like a chore or like something like you know. I think it's just.
Cause I'm
I don't know.
Because that's a good question. That's a good point, Jill. I never thought about like that. There's two separate. You know, there's asking like for advice and just like someone to rant to, but then there's also like asking for like action. You know, like physical things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never thought of it like that. Oh my god, look at Jill broadening our perspectives.
Well, just like that's like I don't know, I never feel comfortable asking for it. And I think it's also just like I'm scared they're gonna like make me feel bad for asking them. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, I feel that makes sense.
I avoid it completely, and then
I don't like asking for things either. Like whether it's help or other things, like I don't also like. Cause I feel it goes back into like me really needing to feel independent. So that way, like, I know, like, okay, like, if anything goes wrong, it's my fault. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know that if I'm committed to it, like, it won't be an issue. But then versus, like, if I'm depending on someone else, there's always that room of, like, this could go very wrong.
Yeah. But
That
it's
I
not like,
just
oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, you finish.
No, I was just saying, yeah, like, if it comes to asking other people, I always, like, go to the worst case scenario, like, oh, this will go really, really wrong, and, like, they just won't deliver,
Yeah.
which isn't fair to people.
Because I'm not like afraid to give. Like that's the weird thing. Like I'll do things for people without them even asking. But then when it comes to like me, I don't want to like take anything. If that, I guess, I don't know.
Mm.
And so
I
I
think
think that's why I like I'm very critical on how like I try and see how people think of me. And the moment I think that they don't like me as much as I like them, I distance myself so fast.
I feel like I need to work more on giving. And as I'm like shedding the mentality that things are temporary, and I'm starting to really accept that like things can last, even if like it's not forever, but things can last for a long time. I'm like working on being more of a giver.
Yeah.
And I think this episode is literally just me talking about my fucking childhood. Okay, sorry. I'm sorry that you guys are my therapist for
It's a
this
safe
one
space.
episode. Yeah, I love you guys. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe other people can relate to it who are listening. But yeah, I just feel like also like being an only child
Oh, yeah.
and like growing up for the most part in like a one parent household, like I just feel like I'm just like, okay, I have to do things like on my own, and that like whatever I get has to be because of me. Like whatever I like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I I have trouble like getting into the mentality that like of like giving just for giving. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That makes
Does
a
that
lot
make
of
any
sense.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm working on it, so I won't always be this shitty person forever.
That's not a bad thing. It's just like you want like you're so used to like you know like growing up you probably had to just like do everything yourself. So now it's just like it doesn't mean as much if you get it from somebody else than if you do it yourself.
Yeah.
I've noticed that like
Yeah.
only children are very mature because, like Jillian was saying, you have to kind of rely on yourself for a lot of things.
Yeah. Because I was like always just around like adults, really. So I never, aside aside from school, but like I never really had to like, I don't know. I don't know how to word this, but I feel like you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Gang gang.
There was one question that I forget who like was gonna ask it, but about like girls wanting to be friends with like guys instead of girls.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's our next
Yeah.
one. We're gonna talk about forming friendships now. As you know, we're becoming adults and moving to the next stage of our lives. It won't be as easy to form friendships as it was like in elementary school or like even in school now where like you have class with someone, you get to know them and then you're friends.
Yeah. But at the same time I think they're going to start to last longer
Mhm.
because you know
Mhm.
like the older you get the less likely you're going to be like changing at least like totally personality wise, you know.
Mhm.
And so then you'll be less likely to want to like cut off friends.
And I think as you get older, you have to put more effort into your friendship. Like you won't really
Yes.
get as many situational friendships.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe yeah in college, like you know, because classes, but like once you're out more so in the world, I always hear like adults on the podcast say like, oh, it's really hard to make friends now that like I'm in my late 20s because it's like I'm not friends with people I work with, you know, because that's work.
Mm-hmm.
It's like how do you have time to go out and meet people and things like that?
Yeah.
But I do think they will last. Like the friendships we make like in college will like be friendships that we know are gonna last because they're gonna be required to put more effort into them.
Yeah. So like even if there's not as many, they'll be like stronger and like
Yeah, I
more.
quality over like quantity.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like that's like me now, and honestly, like I think you get more out of it, and you feel like less empty, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I think about it, I really only have like two close friends that I talk to on a day-to-day basis. shout out to Aaron and Rebecca. But like when I like
shout out to
like,
them, yes.
Yeah, shout out to them, my loves. But like when after that, it's just kind of like up in the air because you know, everything else is more situational. But I'm fine with it. So
no, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I feel like besides Anya, I maybe have like, out of the friends I already have right now, not the friends I'm making like currently because I'm going to be in college with them, but the friends I already have from high school and like just being in Simsbury. Yeah, I feel like besides Anya, there's maybe like one other friendship I'll keep.
Yeah.
Like 1.5 maybe, besides Anya, that I can see us really lasting because we put effort into spending time with each other.
Yeah.
Well, now we can because you're going to be in New York. Sorry, I just got excited about that.
Hey, Gill!
I'm so excited.
Wait, what did you say?
We're both going to be in New York, and I'm like, whoa. And we're going to be like 30 minutes away from each other, right?
That.
Yeah.
But I'm really still, like, I don't know what I was going to say. I just lost my train of thought. Sorry. Who wants to go next can speak.
Well, I was going to add on to what you were saying, which is like, oh my God, I lost my train of thought. Wow.
Sorry.
Like, no. I also don't think that there's many, I don't want to like exclude anybody, but like being realistic, there's probably like 2, maybe max like 4 people that I would still be talking with after high school.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think it's just like you were saying, it depends on the effort that you put in. Like with me and Jennifer, and like even my other friend, like Claire, who's my other best friend, is like it's effortless. Like we don't really, you know, it's just it's become how we interact, where we just like send each other like 15 texts at a time.
Literally.
Like you feel weird if you go like a day or 2 without talking, and that's like such a weird feeling. I don't know how to describe it.
No, I feel you.
Like, oh, we just went 2 days without talking or sending a TikTok to one or the other. Like, are we okay?
No, literally, because sometimes for me, like, it takes me a while to text people back, and not because of them, but it's really just me. I just sometimes am like not necessarily in a socializing mood. So like I'll take like hours or sometimes even a day, and I'm like, oh my God, Anya, I'm sorry, baby.
No, but I got into it by now. At first I was like, this girl, and now I'm like, it is what it is.
I'm sorry.
Adding on. Like, there was one time where I was like talking to this guy, and I like the situation was changing so much within like every minute, and I just kept adding on and on and on to the story. Like,
I woke up to a roller coaster ride, but I love it. And I was going to add something. Oh, because Anya, you said like you don't want to exclude people when you're counting like people who you think you're actually going to continue to be friends with past this year.
Yeah.
I don't think like, like I kind of really don't like that, how as a society, like we sometimes feel like, oh, like we have to count everyone. And that sometimes we have a fear of being really honest about where that relationship is. Because even when I was doing my counting, like I said, there was just like, besides Anya, maybe 1.5 other relationships. And that's coming out of like the friendship, the people that I'm really friends with, the people that I talk to and hang out with, like, which Anya, you know, I think you would know too, Jill. Also, like just the people who I hang out with, like Sam, like Ellen, everyone like that.
Yeah.
Like I feel like also like those friendships have changed a bit. They've progressed, and like I don't feel like I'm getting as much effort as like I was putting. So like I just kind of like stopped putting in as much effort into the group as a whole. But in the individual friendships, like, I see myself continue to be friends with like maybe one other person from that group, if that makes sense. So like I feel like I wish we would have more honest talks with each other about where, like, what stage our relationship is at, because it's not bad for things to change. And sometimes people don't realize if they're being distant, or sometimes people don't realize like what you need in a friendship. Because I don't think people really have talks like, oh, like what do you look for in a friend? Like we talk about what we look for in a partner, but we don't talk about what we look for in friends, which I think it's also very important.
That's such a good point. I think we were talking about that, like, you know, like what you need, but also like, are we communicating what we need in a friendship? Or do we just like, you know,
assume they know?
Do you like, what is it, like survival of the fittest, and then just hope like you guys have the same one, or like,
oh my God,
you know? Like, we just choose the easiest ones, like the ones that work the fastest, right?
Yeah.
Like, you guys click, and then you kind of talk a little bit after, and you're like, okay, that's my friend, but like you don't reach out, or you don't like once it seems like once you find one person, or even like a handful of people, then you just stop trying to find new friends.
Yeah, I feel you.
I can't remember the
When I
last
think,
time I made a new friend.
yeah, like, yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah, that's a really good point, because when I think about the friendships I have currently, like high school, like Kingsbury friends, all of the friendships I have now were formed off of like when I dropped my like old friend group in middle school and I met Sam. And then through Sam, I kind of met everyone else.
Yeah.
And through Sam is when I met Anya freshman year.
Yeah.
Because when I think to it, like
I was
if
trying to think of
Sam
middle
hadn't
school.
like,
Go ahead.
huh?
I was trying to think of middle school, and like I couldn't remember you in middle school. I don't think
Yeah,
we met
no,
yet.
I didn't know of you in middle school. I didn't even know of Amoya, who I think is like also one of my closest friends right now. So yeah, like I always tend to meet people through other people, because I'm someone who's like really intimidated by other people, and I'm really shy. So like I have a hard time reaching out to people. Because I remember even Anya, like if Sam hadn't like had us talk that one dismissal after class, because we had French together. So if we hadn't had Sam like as like the mediator in that conversation, I don't think I would have ever really approached you, because I was so intimidated, and I was like, oh my god, Anya's so cool. She's so articulate. Like I really like how, and you still do it, but when Anya speaks, like she'll take a pause. She'll really let the question or whatever was said really sink in and think about her response. And I really admire that, because I feel like I'm always someone who's like, go, 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 go. And I just start talking, but sometimes I don't really know where I'm going to end, which is not good. So I remember Anya would do that in French. I'm like, wow, I just want to be like Anya. And I think because I was so intimidated, I don't think I would have reached out to you on my own to form our friendship had it not been for Sam.
That is very heartwarming to hear.
I love you, Anya. You're great. And even you, Gill, like I'm trying to think of like when we became friends. Because we did recenter last year.
It was our English class that you and I were the only two people with brains.
Oh my fucking god, that goddamn class.
I think it was like, I think the moment that we both really clicked was after like the whole blackface thing broke out, and then like the message from the principal, and I had a complete breakdown that day because I was just like totally in shock of like the apathy of everyone. And I just remember you, like, you were the first person that whole day to like say something that like made sense or like that wasn't like just so shitty. And like I was like, okay, all right, like we have one.
No, I remember in that like English discussion, I was like, yes, Gill, I see another one. I see a potential friend. And then we got moved to sit together. Yeah. And we were reading about Huck Finn and whatnot. I'm like, yes. And every Huck Finn conversation, I would just look over at you whenever someone in the fishbowl said something. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yes. It's a progressive book.
I'm like, in what universe?
Like,
and when people were like, oh my god, like Jim and Huck were such good friends, I'm like, I don't know about you, but I don't call grown ass adults my friend, especially during a time of slavery.
Also, like, if I was Jim, I would not want Huck as my friend.
Literally.
It's like, oh, so you guys leave your friends out, like, you know, handcuffed.
You tie them up.
Tied to a, you know,
and
a raft.
You know he's free, but then you act like but then you continue to play games with him and almost get him killed.
Yes.
I fucking hate that goddamn book so fucking much. Oh my god, the rage.
Oh my god. And then like yeah. Okay. And then I think Anya, that's also how we kind of became friends this year as well, like closer, you know?
Definitely. Because if you hadn't been in that class, I would have died.
Our good old Heart of Darkness.
And like to forming friendships, like looking more into the future, like I recently like I was like added to like group chats for like the college I'm going to, and like I feel like I'm really starting to make some friends there. Like I mean I already knew one person, Bree, before, but like now we're getting closer and I'm making other friends. And That's good because I would have been a shy, awkward being who would have not talked to anyone on the first day. How about you guys? Are you forming any new friendships?
Not really. Like, I
I
can't.
remember Jill. Oh, sorry, Anya, go ahead.
No, I was just saying I can't think of the last time like I made a new friend, but like I'm looking forward to it in college. So
Yeah, I think that'll be a wake-up call for like a lot of people who just, I don't know, like I think it was like a big problem here just because it's such a small town, but like I found a problem getting close with people because they just weren't having it. They're like, I have my childhood friends, I don't need you. Like, you know, like we'd be acquaintances at school, but if I ever tried to like push it more, or like even with like the the group that we were talking about earlier, like even like no matter how nice they were, like people were nice here, but they would never like ever reach out to you, you know, or they never wanted it to be more than just like a school friend. And I get that on some level for like some things, but like it was very like eye-opening on how stubborn people are to like not grow closer with others. And that, I know that sounds stupid, but just like,
No, it doesn't. It.
They're just people that were like, no, I don't want to like know anybody else. And it was like, okay, have fun in the real world. Like,
Yeah, because I feel like a lot
know.
of people don't realize that like Simsbury really is a bubble.
It really is.
Like even for me, like on the bus, like going to school, like when we cross that like the border between like Hartford and like Simsbury, like you can literally feel the change. Like I already
Yes.
feel like I'm suffocating, which is like I mean a bit extreme, but like you can really feel the change in atmosphere. And you can really tell it's like a town that like you know who you know and like you don't really try to branch out, which is evidenced by people's ignorant ass fucking comments.
So how do you guys feel about or how do you guys react when you hear other girls say that they want to be friends with guys because they're less drama?
I heard a lot of that in elementary school.
Really?
Or a lot of girls, like a few girls, and even in middle school too, like I think of a few girls in particular who are just like, yeah, well, I think of honestly one person in particular who just, yeah, like I just like, I'm a tomboy, like I just get along with guys more, and I just think guys are like just great, and I just have a hard time connecting with girls, and I'm like, I think you're the issue here, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And like I was always someone who always had a mix of guy and girlfriends. So like yeah, like I've never been like, oh, like I get along with one gender more, but I've always just like been someone who's had friends of all genders. But I feel like even now more so, like I have more girlfriends than I have guy friends. That's because the guys in our fucking school are shitty, but I digress.
I like don't understand how people really think that way. Like I don't see any less drama between guy and girl relationships, like platonic ones, and girl and girl.
Yes.
And if anything, there's like less. I don't know. It baffles me.
I think they just take like bad relationships with girls and then blame like the entire female population for them, or like they don't want to look at their own mistakes or like their own faults, and so they're just like, girls are less drama. Like if you're constantly having problems with other girls, maybe it's not them, like maybe it's you.
Common
like,
denominator.
it just like like I'm just, you know, like if it's constant like problems, it would be like the same thing like a girl who keeps, unless they keep on going for like really shitty dudes, but like if they keep on getting into relationships and they keep on ending poorly, and then she just says like, oh, guys suck, like at some point you would need to do some self reevaluation, you know. Like if you're on number 15, like they're you know, like I'm not saying guys are kings or whatever, but like I'm just saying like in this situation,
it takes two to
and
tango.
yeah, because I think for me, like at least growing up with like, I have all brothers, you know, and at the point of like 5th grade, I think I was up to like 7, including all my half and stepbrothers, and I had like no stepsisters or girl cousins. So like I really only had girl friendships because I was tired of boys. I saw how annoying they are, and not saying there, but just like I found them to be like apathetic of my problems. That might have just been more because it's like, oh, like siblings, you know, like, because it's a weird like I love you, but I also like hate you and I'm gonna bully you, but like I love you kind of situation. I don't know how to. I know you're an only child, Jen, but like,
yeah, listen, I can only dream.
It's a really weird polarized like situation that I found. I don't know. I think in high school it was a little bit different. Like it was easier to make friends with dudes, but I definitely just don't agree with girls like bringing down other girls. You know, like the pick me situation.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a pick me thing, and I think a lot has to stem with like in Western society how like girls are pitted against each other. Like they see other girls as competition for men.
Yes.
So them being like, oh, like I don't get along with other girls, like it's kind of like I'm limiting the competition, and it's like that's not a good way of thinking. Because for me, I found just that like my closest friendships have been, especially like now, are with the girls.
Yeah.
Because they're able to like understand. Well, I don't know if it's just because of the environment we're in and just the selection of guys we have being not ideal for me. But I don't know if it's because of that or if it's just like, oh, it'll always be like this for me. But I just find that I connect more with girls. But I can kind of see it, you know, for me personally going out into the future, like I can see myself still being mostly connected more with girls just because like I've grown up around girls more, like with my mom. And then like when I lived back home in Africa, like there are more, my mom has a bunch of sisters.
Yeah.
But only like 3 brothers. But even as a child though, like I only played with my boy cousin and my uncle and like our neighbors who were boys. So I didn't really, oh my God, yeah, I didn't even think of that. Yeah, as a child, I didn't have, well, before I moved to America, I didn't have a lot of girlfriends.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just went on 10 million tangents. That made no sense.
No, that makes sense.
No, it all connected though. It all connected.
Yeah.
Did it? Okay, because I didn't think it did.
I definitely think
I
can definitely. Oh,
no, go ahead.
Sorry, Ed. Sorry to any like Simsbury guys if they're listening to this, but I just like it's definitely different here than it is in other schools.
That's unfortunate.
Like with guys,
but I'm not.
And I think, yeah, like, and if you like, I know like you care about, you know, like having a worldly perspective. You're definitely more likely to find a girl here that like is on the same page than a guy.
Yeah.
Or at least like really care about it, you know?
Yeah.
But, like,
because even the one guy friend that I have, Anya know who this is, like, because I talked about it in the podcast before, in the earlier episodes, the Mr. Accountability or Mr. No Accountability. Yeah, that's kind of like one of the big hindrances into why, like, I feel like me and him, like, yes, we're friends, but I feel like we're more situational friends. Because he's just shown me that he wouldn't make a good friend or someone for me to be really close with.
Yeah.
So I've kept our friendship at like a minimum.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think for me, I've also probably just because society has like kind of done this, I've been more drawn towards like having girlfriends. But for tennis, I've always played with only guys. So all of my tennis friends seem to be male, which is just weird, but I get a good balance. Plus, I'd rather be friends with guys who come from other schools, not our Simsbury guys.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're down to our last question. This is a lengthy episode, but I think it's, you know, it's worth it. We really discussed a lot of really good things. But for our last question, I wanted to discuss, I mean, we already got into this a little bit previously. We've like dabbled into it, but are you your friends? Like, are you the people you surround yourself with?
I was wondering what that meant. I read that and I was like, what? But now that you
want me to explain it more? Or
No. Now that you explained it, it makes sense. Does someone else want to start or should I go?
You can go if you want.
I think that I tend to definitely surround myself with people who are at least similar to me in some aspects, like the way that we think about the world. But then again, it's also very different. Like, for example, Jennifer believes in astrology, and I'm like, I don't. But, like, I still very much appreciate when you talk about it. And I think that it's definitely opened my eyes to, like, a different perspective.
Oh yeah, I thought I annoyed you when I talk about it. So I'm like, let me not talk about
No,
astrology that much.
no, I think like it's just, I think some people take it way too seriously when they are like against it. I think they're like, this is not scientific and there's nothing like it's, I just think it's like a lighthearted thing
It's
from
just
my
a little bit
Yeah.
of
perspective.
fun, y'all.
Yeah.
It's
We
just
just,
fun.
um,
it's
but
like disguised self-obsession. Like, if you think about it, like,
all the
I mean, yeah.
narcissism.
Yeah.
No, but like obviously everyone's different, like I said before, but I definitely tend to surround myself by people who I think are similar to me in at least that respect, like the way that we think. But I can see major differences between like I'm a very like outgoing person, whereas like my other friend Claire is very inward. So I think it's a good balance that I have.
yeah, that's a good observation. I think it's all about like compatibility, you know,
Mm.
and then when it comes to that, like there's so much variation. And I think like you were on like the same page of with most friends, you have some sort of like the same beliefs, or at
Mhm.
least on the things that matter.
Yeah.
Like
Mm-hmm.
astrology, like you know, like you may believe in it, and Anya doesn't.
It
But
it like
like,
it doesn't affect their friendship in any way. Like
yeah,
it really doesn't.
it's more like an outside factor.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But then just like hanging out, like I mean, like you're gonna be able to talk to people more often if you're not gonna be disagreeing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
And
Yeah, like mhm. Like for me, the way I think of it, like I think you are your friends to a certain degree, but the way I look at it though, I don't look at the little things as like, oh, who's more introverted or who's more like who's into
yeah,
this and who's not or whatever. I think of it more so like in the core beliefs. You know? I think
yeah,
about it like who are you as a person? Like, am I proud to like have you as a friend? Am I proud to be for you to be someone who I associate myself with? Because if you're someone who like one of my core beliefs, like I said, is like being socially aware. And if you're someone who goes around throwing the N word or giving N word passes, or if you're someone who goes around, I mean, if you're a non-black person going around throwing the N word, and if you're a black person who gives people the N word passes, or if you're someone who like is transphobic or whatever, like that's something that I can't, like, I don't want to be associated with that. I don't want that to be traced back to me. So
exactly.
I, even if we're acquaintances, our friendship would never get more than that.
mm-hmm.
It just would never ever. I just don't want that to be tagged onto me because that's not what I stand for, and I don't want to be called a hypocrite because I fight against those things. But then I'm associated with someone who like is the opposite. Like it just is not something that I necessarily vibe with. And I think I don't know. I kind of battle with this part in particular, but like with religion, because that is a really important part of religious people's lives. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm not at all religious. Like I don't subscribe to any organized religion. So I don't know. I'm not sure because my closest friends right now are not people who are religious.
Same.
So that's not an issue. So I'm trying to think like, would I see myself being super close with people who are religious? I'm trying to think. I don't know. I feel like it depends.
I think that if they don't talk about it or they're respectful of your own views, it can work out. Like my other best friend is, I think she's Christian. I don't know, kind of like, I don't know the difference, but she subscribes to an organized religion. She goes to church, but like I almost forget about it sometimes because like I don't even like remember that she doesn't bring it up. I feel like it'd be obnoxious if you were like, yeah, I actually believe in the Jesus all the time.
In the Jesus.
Yeah, that's how I imagine it.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel you on that. Like, as long as it's not like you're not trying to push it on me, and like if we're still able, like if you do want to talk about religion, if we're able to have conversations about it that are productive and that we can both understand our separate stances on it, you're not trying to win me over to your side, then I
Mhm.
think it's fine. But like I don't know, I just thought of it now, but I feel like I would be I can see myself being really close friends with someone who is Muslim more so than someone who's Christian or Catholic.
Yeah.
Just because of like
And
what
I feel like,
we learned.
I just think that's like also like the time now, like with how religion ties into politics and
mm,
like people's freedoms and stuff.
yeah. I think it also has to do with the fact that I just grew up around like Islam more than I did like Catholicism or Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, but as long as like you're not like even if you do are religious, but as long as you're not like conservative, like you know what I mean? Like as long as I'm like the gays are gonna
Yeah.
burn in hell, then I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, sorry to break it to you, but I will be burning in hell according to your standards then.
Exactly. Like if you're constantly like bringing them down, then or like bringing down a group that you're a part of, you're not really going to want to be friends with them. I mean, it'd be like the same way if you were bringing down Christians or Muslims, like
Yeah.
in a really disrespectful way, like not not being like not giving criticism for their actions, but just like full on hating for like if for like you weren't aggravated at all. It's just like you wanted. I
Yeah,
don't
just
know.
me popping out. I'm like, you know what? Let me tell you my fucking 10 reasons why I think blah 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 is
Yeah.
not good. You know, like no, that's not
Yeah.
cute. That's not good.
And they wouldn't want to be friends with you, which
Yeah, because
you
I'm
would
not
understand.
respecting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not respecting
So,
something that's so important to them.
and it goes both ways. So,
Mm-hmm. Well
yeah,
said, Jill. Well said.
I think just like you're gonna be one of like, I don't know. I think because for me, my friendships have changed so much because of who I have become and who I've like changed and grown to be.
Mm-hmm.
I see friendships as like, like they're kind of who you are. But I think when you start to have like deep friendships where like you really have those connections and you can still talk, then if you start to become different people externally, but if you're the same people internally, be friends.
Yeah, and I agree with that completely.
But I think to make friends, most of the time you're like the same on the outside, if that makes sense. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like for forming friendships, for me, it starts out with the outside and then goes into the inside. And
Yeah.
it's because, at least for me, I hesitate to ask about, like, oh, what are your stances on religion? Or what are your stances on X, Y, and Z? You know what I mean?
Of
Because I
course.
know,
Yeah.
like, some of those topics are very, like, sensitive to people, especially religion, really. Because now that I think about it, yeah, the people that I make friends with are typically people who are, like, pretty worldly and they're pretty, like, socially conscious. But outside of that, like with the other core values, like I always hesitate to ask about people's stances on religion. And like, because I don't want to put them in an uncomfortable position where they think I'm judging them if they have a certain religion or whatnot. But I just want to know so that for me personally, I know, okay, like, so you just know the person more and you know what is a boundary for them.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to say something that then like that seems really disrespectful to them. Like I don't want to, you know what I mean? I don't want to put them in that position.
Exactly. Especially if you find out that they're like super religious after being friends, or like they decide to like like start being more religious, it makes me like more conscious on like when should I go to them, and like will it help me or hurt me to go and talk to them about this.
Oh yeah,
I
because
don't know if
like
that
I don't know exactly what you mean, but let me know. I'll tell you something, but just let me know if that is what you were trying to say. But I find that like if I'm going to a friend for advice, like I don't want to hear a religious, like I don't want you to tell me which like scripture or which
oh
whatever I
my
need to
god
read.
yes, or like
Yeah,
when
that would
they're like
annoy me.
God has a plan for all of this, and I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah, like even like with all
No.
the coronavirus stuff, like sometimes I see on my stories people posting religious things. Like obviously I'm not gonna go into the DMs and be like, how are you, like why are you posting? Like no, like that's their way of dealing with it. But in my head I'm like, can you please stick to reality? Which may be rude, but I'm not gonna tell them that. It just in my personal head, when I see them explaining what's going on in the world through religion, I'm like, yeah,
exactly.
I kind of get a disconnect. It makes it hard for me to feel close to that person.
And then it goes into like that just like natural progression of like losing that friendship, because like then you just can't get any closer,
Yeah, it'll always just be that very surface level friendship where I don't feel comfortable talking to you. Because for me, like I like having these discussions about like religion, monogamy versus polyamory, like things like that, and not everyone wants to push their thinking like that, whether it's due to religious reasons or whether it's due to more so just being conservative or whatever. But I'm like, I like having those conversations, and I think that's really important for me. to like stimulate myself like that.
Yeah.
So it would be hard for me to have a friend or to form a friendship or have friends who aren't able to do that. Gang gang.
Is there anything else that we should like add on?
I was thinking about the role of social media when it comes to friendships and like the boundaries, I guess, and expectations we have there.
Ooh, that's a good topic.
Like, you know, like how close you are with someone and like how you react or how you interact with them on social media versus in person. And like
Yes.
how you can feel alienated like through social media. I know that sounds so like,
Ooh, elaborate.
so like if you are friends with somebody but then they choose to never like talk about you or kind of like, I guess, like show you off on their Instagram or like really interact with
somebody. Sorry.
you know, or they like
that.
they're constantly choosing other people. Like, are you validated on feeling alienated from them or like left out?
Oh yeah, I feel like I see what you mean now. Yeah, and I definitely relate to that because I'm someone who like I like to show my friends off. I like to take photos of us like doing a bunch of fun things. I like to post like
Yes.
photos and whatnot, and just like share our friendship. And whether that's for superficial reasons or not, we can get into that later. But I do like to like show my friends off, and I like for that same energy to be reciprocated.
I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, like if I'm the only one ever taking photos, like I'm like I don't like that. Like I want us both to have photos because it shows me, at least for me, taking photos of us or doing like videos or whatever is how one way that I cherish our friendship. And if like the other person isn't doing that, then I'm like, oh, do you not cherish this friendship? Or you're embarrassed by it? Like, is there, you know what I mean?
Or you just like indifferent, like you don't really care.
Yeah, like do you not want to remember this?
Yeah. So I don't know. I was just like thinking about that, especially with like the quarantine, you know, and like how it's our only way of communicating at this point. Like, does it like show like who you really care about, or like does it just not, is it not a big deal? I don't know, because I tend to like care. I'm the same way. I love to take photos of my friends and like post them and like, you know, and do things. And then like if I don't get that same energy back, there's a part of me that's like insecure if, you know, I'm putting myself out too much and they don't want that.
Ooh.
I definitely have that like feeling sometimes,
And I want to tie that into also like I feel like that really shows itself when I see like you know like the birthday posts people make for their friends, or like when they announce what college their friend is going to or whatnot. I feel like it really shows like that. Like if you like if it's someone's birthday and like I know them in person, but then I only have like one photo of them, or like the only photo I have of them is like years old, I'm like, ooh, yikes. Then are we really friends? Am I just wishing you happy birthday publicly like this as just to like because I feel obligated to, or is it because we actually have a deep friendship?
Yeah.
So it always gets me thinking like, oh shoot, am I like are we me and this person actually friends? Like, do we even value this friendship, or is it just kind of like a friendship of convenience? And now I'm scrambling to find a photo of you to post for your birthday. You know? And oh, sorry, did someone want to say something before I say something else?
No, go ahead.
I feel like I'm talking so much.
No, you have
someone else feel free to go. Someone feel free to go ahead. Okay. So I was also going to give you the flip side of that, because you talked about how social media can make you feel alienated from your friends, but I feel like it can also shoot, I'm losing my train of thought.
Like strengthen them?
I don't know if strengthen was the word. What was I gonna talk about? Oh my god. Wait, can you talk about alienating again? So to see if it jogs my memory. Sorry, Jill.
So like, you know, like if you have a friend and you talk to them at school and maybe you guys hang out a few times, and like you're okay with posting them on your social media,
yes,
you know, or making posts about them, and then they never seem to do the same. Like, like how do you explain to that person that you feel alienated with because they're not posting without sounding superficial, you know? Because you don't
Yeah, I
want
think
to sound like the post is what you care about. It's like the fact that they're
what it
not.
symbolizes.
Yes.
I think it all goes back to communication and really communicating what you need in a friendship
Yeah.
in the ways that you measure a friendship. Because if that's big for
Yeah.
you and that's how you measure like how close you are to your friends or something like that, then like I feel like it should be communicated, and hopefully the
Definitely.
other person, like, even if that's not necessarily how they themselves measure friendships, at least like they can acknowledge and be like, okay, this is how this person measures friendship, or one way they measure it, so let me do that so they know, like a common, it's kind of
Oh,
like love
yeah.
languages, but
Yeah.
friendship languages. Did I just invent some shit? Yeah, friendship languages.
Well, like, you love your friends, so it goes back to that, I
Okay,
think.
yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
I don't know.
Never mind. I didn't invent anything. I thought I did something.
Yeah. It's just a new category. Did that jog your memory?
Yes, it did. Because I was going to talk about the opposite of that, like social media making you feel like you're closer to people, or people acting closer to you on social media versus in person.
Yeah.
And I always think, like, even recently, like when I posted like the little makeup look I did yesterday, I had people that I know in real life, like we're acquaintances, we have classes together, we're friendly, but they were like, oh, like commenting really nice things into my DMs. And I was just like kind of shocked by it, because I'm like, oh, like I was just expecting you to just see the story and then move on.
Yeah.
But they took time out of it to like, oh, go in my DMs, like, oh, you look really nice. And I was like, thank you.
By the way, that look
So like,
was amazing.
Yeah,
Sorry,
you
I
look
didn't mean
so
to
hot.
cut off, but
thank
it
you.
was
Oh
so
my
good.
god, thank you, thank you. I have to tell you about this new girl. Okay, sorry, let me focus.
So-
Yes, I have, like, I'm conflicted. Like, on one hand, I'm like, oh, it's really nice that like they took time to really compliment me, someone who's like an acquaintance to them. But then I also think, like, for certain people who are signing into my DMs, I think like, are you just performing? Is this a
Yeah.
performance?
Mm-hmm.
And you guys can kind of like get an idea of like what people I'm talking about, but I'm like, is this just a performance to you? Like, are you
Yes.
amplifying this?
Even like the role of like spams or finstas really confuses me about like how close you are with someone. Do you guys like know, like what a finsta is?
Oh, we had a whole crusade against Finstas.
Oh, okay, that's great. But just like, I know this one girl who like we never talked. Like, we went to the same middle school, and then for high school before I moved, and we've been following each other on our own finstas. Don't kill me, but like
We
it
still love you,
confuses
Gill.
me so much because I only know her like for a second. I didn't even know her name. I just knew her username at that, like, and that's just so weird to me that like, like we never talked in person, really. We never hung out, and then yet like we're still following each other on this
Ooh.
thing since like the 7th grade, and it's so weird to me that like, I don't know, maybe that's just too much of like a, like, that's so specific, but it just like makes me feel weird about just the difference between like in-person relationships to online relationships.
Okay. No, I definitely feel with you on that. And like, recommend listening to our episode on social media, because I talk about like me cleansing and going through and like unfollowing people that I'm like, am I actually friends with you?
Yeah.
Like, do I actually like you? And I'm like, okay, yeah, no. And then I would just unfollow them or block them. So I'm like, I felt like that was kind of, it was just like, it's just, yeah, it is weird,
Mm-hmm. Or even just on regular, like, you don't like someone but you're still following them. That's such a weird concept.
Like, you feel like an obligation to, yeah. So I encourage everyone, please cleanse your followers lists.
Yeah, like, it's okay to unfollow people that you don't talk to.
Like, literally, what are they going to do about it? Nothing.
It should not be like a sacred thing,
Yeah. So do you have any final thoughts, Jill, on this?
No, I think I've said all I need to say.
How about you, Miss Anya?
Yeah, I think same. Had a very long and good discussion, and if you've made it this far, thanks.
Yeah, it's gonna be a long ass episode because we've been like on the phone for like 2 hours essentially, but a lot of it's gonna get cut off, I think. Are you guys ready to move into your song recommendations?
Yes.
Oh, I did not know this was.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we
okay,
should.
then you want to just take a second to think about it?
No, it's okay. I think.
Jennifer, why don't you go first if you're ready?
Okay. So my song rec is Chanel Slides. I love that song so much.
Is that the one with
Yes.
Cash Doll or something?
Yeah, Cash Doll. I forgot who the first girl. I think it's Dreezy or something like that.
Yeah,
but
yeah,
Cash
yeah.
Doll's on it.
Yeah.
It's a really good song. Also, Take Me or Leave Me from Rent. I don't know why. I've been listening to that song a lot. It's a bop. I love it. And also, Favorite Records by Fall Out Boy. I'm back to my emo face. I listen to a lot of Fall Out Boy recently. Very good.
Okay, so I'm gonna go all over genres here, but Bad Bunny's new song Yo Perrero Sola, I probably said that so wrong, but it's a bop, so go listen to that. And then Throwback High School by Nicki featuring Lil Wayne. Love that song.
Barb's for Bernie. Sorry.
Wait, what?
I said Barb's for Bernie.
Oh my god. Yes, for sure. And then Party Next Door and Rihanna's new song Believe It is good.
Yes.
Yeah. I can't believe
I second that.
actually came out here and sang a song like she used to in the old days.
She sang 5 words that I'm out. It was 5 words.
Literally.
Okay, so I've been listening to a lot of Frank Ocean. So my recommendation would be Lost by Frank Ocean. That's a great one. I had another one, but I guess like a really good one that I listen to is That Bitch by B. Miller. Just it gets you in the mood. It's just like talking about like like stereotypes or double standards. And just it like makes a lot of sense, you know? And it's a good beat. I'm here for it. And I think that's all that I can name right now.
Perfect.
I'll definitely just the Frank Ocean song because I've never heard a Frank Ocean song besides the potato one. Or the Throwback to Mine.
That's what I used to listen to that song all the time. What's it called again?
Yes. Lost.
No, the one with the potato that flew around.
Oh, Thinking About You.
Oh wait, it's a tornado.
Oh, but yeah, a tornado.
Oh yeah, not potato.
We're thinking fine.
Yes. Oh, also Fangs by Matt Champion. Sorry, that's such a random one, but I've been listening to that since like December and I haven't been done with it yet. So
that's when you know it's a good song.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I listen to the same songs over and over for a year.
Okay.
It's like on the edge of being a 90s song.
Thank you, Gill, for being our first guest. That was amazing.
Yes, thank you, Jill. It's been a pleasure.
Me.
I think you are the perfect person for this. Like you're so like you know what you want to say and you say all the right things. So
literally, we love you, Jill. An icon.
Awesome. And I just want this podcast to like flourish. I hope you guys continue.
Oh god, yeah. That's our plan. But
yeah, definitely.
I don't know what day it was, but I think I like binged all the episodes like one of the quarantine days because I listened to a few and then I just like watched like all of them.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yes.
I really love our Smash or Pass one and like the Fuck Marry Kill one. Yes. One of my favorite episodes.
I fell asleep listening to that the other day.
I love the Tarzan part.
You know. Oh my god, you should go.
Yes.
Right.
Remember to follow our Instagram account that we're going to start using more now, I promise.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
We do polls and stuff through there. So if you ever want to participate, follow us at coffeeclatch_podcast. Also subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is where this will be uploaded.
Yeah, and if you want to listen to our old episodes, you can head over to the SoundCloud, which I think you can find it if you click on the YouTube channel. It should be in the description.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy the rest of the quarantine. Stay your asses home because I would like to have fun this summer.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.